unfortunately, it's the end of an era, Warriors fans. Looks like Klay Thompson is no longer a Golden State Warrior since 2011. He will now play for a different team in the NBA, which will be the Dallas Mavericks. Of course, you guys know the Mavericks did just compete for the NBA Finals, and Klay Thompson will now have the opportunity to showcase his skills that we have loved watching in the Bay Area for so many years, now playing in Texas on a 3-year, $50 million contract. I'm a host here at Chat Sports Alley Barefoot. Let's see what Shams Charania had to say, Adrian Wojnarowski had to say about Klay Thompson making this move. Breaking free agent Klay Thompson plans to join the Dallas Mavericks on a 3-year, $50 million deal with a player option, sources tell ESPN. Thompson ends his historic Warriors run as a part of a multi-team sign and trade that also sends Josh Green to Charlotte. Woj does go on to talk about a little bit more about Klay Thompson and the latest deal that now sends him to the Dallas Mavericks, saying Thompson had a 4-year offers for more money, but taking less was offset by the chance to win a 5th championship with the Mavs and difference in state taxes. Agent Greg Lawrence of Was Basketball led Thompson in serious talks with Mavs and Lakers, among others. All right, well, here's why you guys subscribe. First and foremost is because anything and everything that happens with Klay Thompson and the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, doesn't matter. If they're making a move, we're making a video about it right here. Join 64,000 strong on this community channel while we go on ahead and break down a little bit more about the Klay Thompson deal, because overall, this stings, man. Klay Thompson has been a huge part of the Warriors' success for over a decade, and I'm going to be honest, seeing him in a different jersey is going to be unreal when this upcoming season does happen, Smith.
He's left a massive legacy in Golden State. Now he's going to Dallas, and it's interesting because we saw that he was getting deals that were for more money, for more years, and Golden State clearly would have been able to match a deal like this to sign Klay Thompson for $17 million a year, but he takes the less money for what he believes is a easier path, a more consistent path to a championship heading to Dallas. And the Warriors, funny enough, they're not getting anything back really in this deal.
Yeah,
there's a potential that there's second-round picks involved, but the Warriors said that they're not really looking to gain any salary back in a deal for Klay Thompson.
I feel like this has been kind of on just looming around Klay Thompson for the entire year. I mean, from the beginning, since he just kind of started this season a little bit slower than he really ever has his entire career. While he didn't have a terrible year last year, averaging about 17 points per game for the Warriors, you could definitely tell that his skills was declining a little bit here on both sides of the basketball, primarily on that defensive side. But the fact that Mark Stein is now hinting that the Warriors are aiming for no salary back. I'm just going to say this first and foremost. I think the Warriors have very strangely handled this offseason by giving Chris Paul away and for nothing. Just completely waiving him instead of doing a trade with the Clippers. You also got rid of Jordan Poole for Chris Paul, and now that's pretty much vetoed. And then you got Klay Thompson here, which you are signing and trading away, and you're getting no salary back. I just feel like the Warriors possibly could have capitalized a little bit better on getting something in return for the powerhouse that has been created, the duo of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, at least for 50% of that. But it looks like they're getting nothing in return. However, Klay Thompson, like I said, definitely had some career lows in this last season. You could definitely tell he was frustrated with the front office. He got moved to the bench. He got taken out of the starting lineup, and that's not what Klay Thompson has meant to the Golden State Warriors over the last decade. But coming back from 2 injuries, this just didn't look like he's in his prime anymore. So maybe, yes, you said, Smith, the Warriors could have possibly offered him a contract that could have matched something similar to Dallas, but I know there was this cloud looming over the front office. Steve Kerr had said it numerous times, I want Klay back. I want to do whatever it takes to bring Klay back. I don't blame him. He's pretty much been like a son to Steve Kerr for the last, 13, 14 years? But I do think that Klay could honestly benefit from a fresh start as well.
Yeah, Klay felt disrespected by Golden State with the way that they've handled his contract, with Draymond Green's comments in the past about how he said Klay got injured and they gave him $50 million or whatever it was per year. And, he leaves this legacy back in Golden State now, 4-time NBA champion, a 5-time All-Star, an all-defensive player, and for him to only have one of those all-defensive honors is crazy because at his peak he was one of the premier perimeter defenders in this league, and now he just leaves for greener pastures, and it's an odd situation because Golden State could have even paid more than the Dallas Mavericks did. I guess they thought and kind of didn't really go after Klay in a sense where he said he was leaving, he said he felt disrespected. The Warriors didn't do much to try to pry him back, to try to kind of appease him and make him feel comfortable coming back and finishing his career in Golden State. So there was really no pushback on this. They let Klay do whatever he wants. They were preparing for this for the past week or so, and they did make a coinciding move that we'll talk about in just a little bit about that as a replacement for Klay Thompson. But they, like you said, have handled this offseason very strangely with letting Paul walk for nothing, not getting a deal done for Paul George. Now, is that entirely their fault? Maybe not. The Clippers are being very petty and not really trying to accept any of Golden State's deals. I heard they dangled Kuminga away in a potential deal for Paul George, so that's on the Clippers for not taking that. They end up with Derrick Jones Jr. and Nicholas Batum to replace Paul George. But the Warriors are probably the team that's left with the least amount of resources after a deal like this is made.
Well, free agency is not over just yet. We're going to talk about a recent move the Golden State Warriors did make on the back half of this show. You guys are not going to want to miss that. But overall, I know this is a sad day for Golden State Warriors fans. I mean, it's been Steph and Klay for as long as I can remember. Probably
the Splash Brothers.
The
There's
Splash
no
Brothers.
More.
When I first started watching the NBA, I was about 14 years old. I mean, that was 2016, 2015, when the Golden State Warriors are starting that dynasty. I mean, they brought me into the love for the NBA, which is tough because when I look back on those beautiful championship years, it's Steph and it's Klay. And that's going to be really difficult for Klay and Steph to now get adjusted to that in the next upcoming year, especially with only a few more years left, possibly in the NBA, because they're reaching that middle to late 30s range. But overall, I know it's a sad day, but let me know how you guys feel. I know a lot of you in the comment section had some misconstruing feelings about Klay Thompson just with his performance last year, and maybe you're saying it's time to move on. Maybe you're saying I want him to retire a Warrior. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Type H for you're happy for Klay Thompson, you're ready for him to play for the Dallas Mavericks. Type S for you're sad because you want Klay Thompson to retire a Golden State Warrior, and now you're watching that slip away. But the Warriors do continue to make some moves. They did just recently sign, very shortly after Klay Thompson signed with the Dallas Mavericks, De'Anthony Melton from the Philadelphia 76ers. They do sign him to a one-year, $12.8 million deal, so nothing too flashy here, and they're definitely not thinking in terms of big picture of what it takes to bring De'Anthony Melton to the Golden State Warriors, only signing him for that one deal, but they do add a little bit to the backcourt, which they needed to. Now getting rid of Klay Thompson and getting rid of Chris Paul, you're now really focused on a backcourt that's going to include Steph Curry and the rookie, that is now going to be a second-year player next year, Brandon Podziemski. So let's talk about what De'Anthony Melton could end up bringing to the Golden State Warriors here. I don't hate this. To be honest, he averaged 27 minutes per game. He's a sneaky good defender. Not to mention, he's averaging a career 36% from the three-point line also as well. And when you see what he's done, about 12 points, 11 points per game, 3 assists, 1.5 steals per game. So as you guys can tell, he is that sneaky defender that can really help out here. From the field, meh. Not the best shooter, but I like the three-point range here. I really do. I think that he can kind of put some more threes up there alongside Steph Curry like Klay Thompson did. Not so much Klay Thompson's prime, but when you're looking at a 38% shooter from downtown, Klay Thompson last year, and you had De'Anthony Melton who averages about 36, 37% from a three-point line, you are kind of filling a little bit of a void here. But like you said, Smith, this is not a comparison because I do not think De'Anthony Melton compares to what Klay Thompson has done for the Golden State Warriors over this time.
I mean, definitely not as far as you're looking at a career perspective, but at this point in his career, am I taking De'Anthony Melton as a perimeter defender, or am I taking Klay Thompson as a perimeter defender? I'd be hard-pressed to say Klay Thompson. I think De'Anthony Melton is going to provide a level of perimeter defense that the Warriors really don't have there in their backcourt outside of Gary Payton II. And Gary Payton II, we know, has had injury concerns for most of, if not his entire career. So you pick up a guy in De'Anthony Melton using the entire mid-level exception. The Warriors now fall under the first apron. They've achieved Mike Dunleavy's goal, Joe Lacob's goal of not being a tax team. They're under the first tax apron, and now they can. That gives them the ability to use the full $12.8 million mid-level exception to sign De'Anthony Melton here. I think it's a good replacement for Golden State, and you look back.
Start.
It's a good start. They're obviously in talks to do other things as well, but the move they make here tells me that they really didn't want Josh Green coming back in that deal. They didn't value him as a guy who they could use in their rotation for the foreseeable future. And there comes De'Anthony Melton here as a pseudo replacement for Klay Thompson, a good bench spark. He's actually very similar to Klay Thompson in the fact that you're not asking him to put the ball on the floor. He's more of a catch-and-shoot threat offensively. But on the perimeter, he's an excellent defender, and I think Golden State's going to use him in this 1 year and hopefully try to develop him. They've liked his game for a long time is what I've read, and they're looking to kind of minimize the loss of Klay Thompson here by bringing in a similar player.
And like we said, free agency is very far from being over, so that does not mean Dunleavy is completely done with adding somebody maybe to vet minimum or maybe a little bit lower than that. But
they still have the $4.7 million biannual exception as well. So they're in a good position to go out and make free agent signings. It just stinks when you lose a guy who has been with the organization for 13 years.
It stinks.
First ballot Hall of Fame player.
For sure.
His numbers going up in the rafters in Golden State. It's just kind of crazy to see him wearing a different jersey now and playing in Dallas.
It's tough too, because this is what happens in the NBA.
Yep.
Everybody tends to just kind of move on unless you get that really rare player in a Steph Curry that actually remains with the team from draft to finish. But the good news is that, like I said, the Warriors are not done making moves. They're actually showing a very, very high interest right now in a guy you guys have been wanting on the Warriors for quite some time in Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah.
And I don't hate this right now. I think that could solve a couple of your problems, not all. But I do think I would be on board with a trade involving Markkanen.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where it's a double-edged sword, right? You can either get Lauri Markkanen, have a bona fide second star next to Steph Curry, but Warriors fans might not be happy with the prospect of giving up Jonathan Kuminga in a deal. That's probably what it's going to cost. Utah's been very hesitant to give up Markkanen at any point this season. We'll have a video coming out more in depth about a potential Lauri Markkanen trade here in the near future. But for now, they didn't land Mikal Bridges, and that was a star that they were really looking at to pair up next to Markkanen and kind of usher in this new era of Jazz basketball. Now that possibility is out the window, and they are more open to making a move for Lauri Markkanen now. And Golden State, along with San Antonio, I believe, are the two teams at the forefront of those trade discussions.
Well, knowing that the Golden State Warriors have been very adamant about not trading Jonathan Kuminga does make me feel that they would not trade him unless absolutely necessary. And if I'm the front office, I'm not trading away Jonathan Kuminga. I love the kid too much. I think he has the potential. And I think just from the 1 year he showed of what his ceiling and how high it could be, I cannot get rid of Jonathan Kuminga. But I know the Warriors are kind of in this crunch time now of really making sure that Steph Curry has the right resources in this last couple. You have to do right by Steph.
Yep.
You're not re-signing the Splash Brother, which is going to affect, I do think it's going to affect Steph Curry. Maybe mentally more than physically or anything. But you got to think, Klay and Steph have just created this narrative of feeding each other in terms of catch and shoot, in terms of off ball, and they've always had each other. Maybe Klay down on the wing while Steph Curry's at the top of the three-point line. It's going to be different in this offense next year. But I'm not getting rid of Kuminga if I'm the front office. So I know that whatever trade they do end up making, they took a while to sit down and make sure this was the only option it took to get another superstar like Markkanen. But with that being said, grade the signing of De'Anthony Melton as he is now a Golden State Warrior, a 1 year, $12.8 million deal. No, it doesn't replace and fill the hole in our hearts of having Klay Thompson move on, but at least the Warriors are making a little bit of strides here to start rebuilding the Golden State Warriors, quote unquote. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what you guys think about De'Anthony Melton down below. As always, hit that sub button for me on Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Anything and everything about your Golden State Warriors will be found right here for free.